Some Extinction Rebellion elite group are going to have a legal battle against the Telegraph over climate crisis denial. I'm going to read into this exclusive from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an exclusive from Byline Times with the headline that Extinction Rebellion linked groups legal battle against the Telegraph over climate crisis denial. The exclusive reveals that a climate group is planning legal action against the undersale Telegraph media group over the outlet's climate coverage. So what's this about? So basically what they're saying is that the Telegraph is pumping out misinformation about climate change, is what they are saying. Now obviously, I think it's really important to make clear that we need to see some examples of them for that to be said. Having said that, we do know that the Telegraph is a Conservative Party paper, and pretty much all those that are looking to take over the Telegraph are looking to have an influence, not just in them but in the British public, and obviously they could give them influence on Conservative MPs because it's a very popular newspaper. Regardless of what you might think of the Telegraph, it is a popular newspaper among Conservative voters, hence the name Toryograph. But aside from the potential sale, another caveat here is that although there are groups linked to the legal battle, it's not actually Extinction Rebellion outright that are making this. And I wonder why Extinction Rebellion are not making it outright. Perhaps maybe it will damage their reputation, so instead they're using like a subgroup or a group that's linked to them to avoid themselves getting solely blamed if for whatever reason this doesn't work through. But the question is what are the legal ramifications for making this case? I think it's the question we need to be asking ourselves. Now, if the Daily Telegraph are pumping out misinformation, then there should be questions to be asked here. Now, do we see the Telegraph as a newspaper for misinformation? I would say yes and no, because there are times where not just myself but you guys see many YouTubers have covered articles from the Telegraph that relate to obviously to the Conservative Party and gives you a better insight into them, and they're very, very insightful from that point of view. But in terms of other news, how much other news do you guys take from the Telegraph itself? Now, of course, you have to pay. There's a paywall behind the Telegraph, but some. As far as I'm aware, I've not been able to get any free articles from the Telegraph. Hence why I don't cover anything from them, because I can't pay for them right now. I mean, if you guys want me to pay for it, you're more than welcome to, and you can send me buy me a coffee or a Patreon and say this money is for the Telegraph, and I will happily use that money to give you to have a look in the Telegraph on your behalf if you want me to do that. But I don't expect you to. But I think if I'm absolutely honest, I'm not sure about this case. But let's read into it to get us a better understanding of why they're doing this, and perhaps what could the ramifications be for the rest of the British media should this happen, and if they be successful. So a group linked to Extinction Rebellion is planning legal action against the Telegraph newspaper for its climate change coverage. The potential international case, inspired by UK Youth Climate Coalition (UKYCC), legal challenge against oil giant BP, which is now at the International Criminal Courts, aims to hold the media accountable for what the group perceives as misleading and inadequate reporting on the climate crisis. So what we've seen online and in certain media outlets, not going to say newspapers, I'm going to say certain media outlets, is that they bring on so-called scientists or so-called experts from things who are perceived as scientists or experts or those who have ideas about climate, and they try to either water it down or they say that it's not to do with oil, gas and fossil fuels, and they try to point the finger elsewhere. Which the vast majority of experts have said that is not true. The vast majority of people have said, scientific experts, have said that what's happening in the world is a result of human action, is because of the increase in CO2s, and it is causing our planet to be warmer. Now, obviously, we don't know for 100% for certain, and perhaps maybe some of you watching this are probably sceptical about climate, perhaps as well. and that's perfectly understandable if you feel that way. However, I like to listen to the experts because listening to experts is important. If you don't listen to the experts, how are you supposed to know things? When somebody is cutting your hair, you're going to listen to the barber and tells you how he's going to cut it. When you're getting a doctor's appointment, if you do manage to get one, and they tell you what medication you should be taking, you're going to listen to that doctor because guess what? They're an expert. And you should apply the same concept to scientists. If a scientist is telling you that this is like climate change is real, and he, excuse me, and here is A, B, and C, X, Y, and Z examples of why that is. Excuse me. Here are the reasons why. Then you should take that seriously. Should take it seriously, but you don't always have to. It is your choice whether you want to choose to acknowledge it or not. However, what you can't deny is the amount of weather-related issues that have taken place. There are many, many, many stories and examples across the globe where the last 10 years or so, things have happened on the planet that should not be happening. Unprecedented things. I'll give you just one example. There's loads out there if you want to. So the glaciers in Iceland, they used to be covered all year round with snow at the top of them. Many are not covered anymore, simply because the temperatures have warmed even in there. In the summertime, they had temperatures as high as 20 degrees at some points in Iceland. Iceland, we're talking about. Crazy, I know. But considering that's one of the coldest places to go and visit is Iceland. But it's just one of many examples out there. There's loads of news and different stories out there of climate change being tied to it. So, you would have to debunk every single one of these stories to deny climate. Now, obviously we don't know what the Telegraph is specifically saying in its papers, or maybe what its readers are saying that's making these claims. So it's important to take this legal action with a pinch of salt, because we don't actually know what the Telegraph is actually saying, or what these viewers in like opinion polls or whatever in their articles are saying. So it's important to make that distinction as well. Right, so climate activist Jon Fuller has been working with a group called the Climate Genocide Act Now, as well as the UKYCC, with two researchers analysing the Daily Telegraph and all its output on climate-related issues. We're planning to get a dossier of evidence covering 6 months and submit a case to the International Criminal Court to say that this is evidence of incitement and crimes against humanity, and we think we've got a chance of getting there, Fuller told Byline Times. So they're looking to take the Telegraph to the International Criminal Court. That's big. The group have conducted around 4 months of research so far and have at least 2 months to go. On day one recently, there were 13 articles in the paper campaigning against Net Zero. Next to them, all the adverts to fly here, there and everywhere, Fuller said in an interview. The Telegraph and the Sunday Telegraph together have estimated print collection of around 300,000 copies, but in August the media group announced they had hit 1 million subscriptions overall due to a surge in digital subscribers, as well as reaching around 14 million people online each month. It is viewed as the house newspaper of the Conservative Party. The title is currently up for sale after Lloyd Banks seized the title over unpaid debts from the Barclays family earlier this year. The sale could go through within weeks by senior Conservatives calling for the government to intervene over a £1 billion bid by Abu Dhabi-backed investment fund Redbird IMI. The United Arab Emirates does not have a free press. The main focus of the climate campaigners' work on the Telegraph is to record and analyse articles that undermine efforts to tackle climate change. This looks at how readers are informed about the scale of the threats or the number of people being killed, and the campaign is in favour of ongoing use of oil, gas and coal, because those policies get a lot of people killed, the campaigners told Byline Times. So they're claiming that the Telegraph undermines everything that's related to climate change, and they promote oil, gas and coal. That's what they're saying. The group says they are getting very good legal advice from climate lawyers. We've had a professional legal opinion, noting that politics that cause climate change can be prosecuted using international criminal law, and there is no lawful implement. The impediments are purely political, Fuller said. The emphatic evidence from experts in international criminal law is that there is a case. The more people and the more groups that do it, the sooner we can make the breakthrough. The sooner we can get a breakthrough, the sooner politicians are forced into action, he said. So they're hoping to set a precedent here for future media outlets, for future newspapers and future medias. The premise is, of course, if they can do this to one, they can do this to all of them. Which means they can stop denying and lying, potentially, if what they're saying is what the Telegraph are doing about climate change. And actually attacking the media and going after the media, is probably one of the better things to do, because they're the ones who inform the public, and they're the ones who should be held accountable when they are not being truthful and not honest about information that they're giving out there. So I think that's an important caveat. The news comes after analysis by climate outlet Dismog found that nearly 1 in 5, 18% of 1,930 Telegraph opinion pieces reviewed by the investigated site featured an attack on climate science, policy, or environmental groups. Nearly 1 in 10 of the environment editorial expressed the views of the newspaper addressed the environment in some way, and every single one of these were anti-green. Climate Genocide Act Now efforts revealed today spring out of Extinction Rebellion's media focus campaign, Tell the Truth in 2019, which aims to push the BBC and other major outlets to fully address the climate emergency in their coverage. The group asserts that the media, and in particular right-wing papers like The Telegraph, have consistently failed to report the current death toll from climate-related disasters and the severity of implementing climate feedback loops, like climate change leading to permafrost, which saw itself trigger high levels of methane emissions, further exacerbating the climate crisis. Metric ice sea in the Arctic also weakens sunlight reflection that cools the climate, known as the Alberta effect. Though protests and negotiations with the media giants like the BBC and ITN, Extinction Rebellion has pushed for more transparent and comprehensive climate reporting. While some believe it has been noted particularly with ITN's enhanced coverage, the group believes media still fall short, especially in covering climate-induced crises in regions such as the Horns of Africa. Yeah, it's absolutely horrible right now, the temperatures there. It's really inhumane, getting to inhumane levels for people in Africa. Climate Genocide Act Now accuses the Telegraph in particular of spreading misinformation and actively campaigning against renewable energy technologies and emission-reducing tools like heat pumps, potentially contributing to climate misinformation. The group also highlights the hostile and often abusive rhetoric leveled at climate activists in the media, pointing out instances that they claim border on incitement to violence. Complaints to the Independent Press Standard Organisation have yielded mixed responses. Fuller details instances where the Telegraph and similar outfits have been caught propagating misleading information. One notable example involves publishing incorrect figures about the cost of reaching net zero, which were later withdrawn by the think tank Civius, but continue to be cited by several right-wing newspapers. For Fuller, the incident highlights a wider pattern where these publications allegedly prioritise sensationalism over factual accuracy, especially concerning climate change. By downplaying the immediacy and severity of climate threats and discrediting sustainable technologies, the newspapers are accused of contributing to a delay in critical climate action. The failure to inadequately connect extreme weather events like Storm Ciarán and the 2022 heatwaves in England and Wales to the broader narrative of climate change is another point of criticism. Fuller draws attention to the direct human cost of climate change, with the 2022 heatwaves in England and Wales resulting in over 300,000 deaths. Yes, those heatwaves last year were absolutely horrible. And I've never felt anything like, I will never forget that day when we had the hottest day on record, that hottest day last year. I will never forget that. I went to walk to the shops and I had the day off work, and I remember walking that. And I never ever felt heat like that in the UK before, ever. The campaigners also point to recent instances where thousands of people have lost access to water due to extreme weather events, illustrating the tangible immediate impacts of climate change in everyday life. For Climate Genocide Act Now, efforts to tackle the climate crisis rely on theft from future generations, with the burden of responsibility being put on those who didn't cause the biggest damage. Extinction Rebellion has also flagged abusive language that appears about climate groups in the press. In the dossier seen by Byline Times, newspapers have often referred to climate fanatics and eco-zealots and eco-mobs when covering those protesting the government's inactions over climate issues. The Daily Star refers to campaigners like XR as Tarkins, or to portray them as toffs, individuals who lecture working class people. Writing for The Sun this June, the controversial columnist Rob Little said that if he came across anybody blocking the street over climate change, he would run them over. He wrote in the paper, "If it were up to me, I would advance towards them in a steamroller, glue your ass to the road, have you? Well, you won't be needing it much longer." So you're basically wishing death on people. So he's happily to murder people, is what he's basically saying there. That's literal murder, is what he's saying there. Articles in other outlets have suggested protesters should be punched in the face. And Dan Wootton, the disgraced former presenter of GB News, appeared to egg on a driver who was later convicted of ramming Insulate Britain protesters with her car in 2021. During the interview, Wootton asked the woman, Sherilyn Spread, "How tempted were you, Sherilyn, to go a little bit harder into these women?" They're human beings just like you and I. You may not disagree and you may not like what they're doing, but it still doesn't give you the right to kill them or run them over or cause actual physical harm to them. Lib Dem group Liberal Reform has condemned the planned legal action as a textbook example of vexatious litigation on Twitter X, while conservative media critic Dan Brutta branded it a slap strategic lawsuit against public prosecution, viewed as an attack on free speech. Progressive commentator Soldan Kawala also dismissed it as a stunt. The Telegraph media group has not responded for a comment. So what do I think of this, guys? What am I honestly thinking about all this? Like I said, there's cases out there to make the point of climate change. Now, again, as I said, you can agree to disagree on it, but there's evidence out there that points to climate change. Now, having said that, if the papers, I'm not surprised that there are papers doing this, but what they're trying to do here is basically saying is that the newspaper media outlets are essentially killing people. This is what they're trying to do here. And they've been building up this case for quite a while now, from the looks of it. And if they do succeed, it will have a great precedent against the rest of the British media, and it'll make them think twice about the way they do things. However, I'm also concerned about the well-being of those who are making this case, because they will try to intimidate and play them down as well. And look, people like Just Stop Oil and their actions, like, there are, in my opinion, times where they go too far. But the other caveat is what I say to you when you argue against these people go too far and they cause too much noise or they cause too much protest, or is it, my answer to you is what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do when they've taken all the legal routes they could possibly take to try and get their voice heard, to get the government to at least talk to them, which they won't even acknowledge, they won't even sit down around a table and talk to them? What are they supposed to do? Because unless there's a proper way for something to be done, they're not going to go away. And the issue on climate change is not going anywhere, guys. We're seeing it every day. You have something happening out there, a change in things. And every time it comes around the summer now, I don't look forward to it, and I get very nervous because I'm worried about how hot it's going to be, and I don't like the heat waves anymore. There was a time where I didn't mind them, but now I absolutely hate them. And be interesting to see how this goes, to be sure. And perhaps others like the other kind of papers who kind of brand them as a certain thing. We talked about media before and how it paints a picture of people as well, and it can be set a very dangerous precedent as well. Again, you can agree to disagree, but that's what I believe anyway. So, but what do you guys think? What do you guys make of this claim, or this case, shall we say? Do you think that this linked group to Extinction Rebellion has a case? Perhaps it doesn't. Perhaps you think they're going too far. Perhaps you think they're the ones who've lost their minds and they're bonkers. Let me know what you guys honestly think down in the comments section below. Interesting to say the least. Hit the like button, it'd be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media and hit that bell notification icon so you'll be notified of when I upload another video. And of course, if you want to financially support me, you can do so by buying me a coffee or joining me on Patreon. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.